Okay, so this is going to be my first episode of America's #1 variety show geared towards personal responsibility and manifesting your life, and just an all-American variety show. This will be aspirational, meaning we're here to uplift and inspire people through spiritual methods, through lifestyle, through wellness methods. So here we go. Some of the aspirational topics, again, are going to be geared towards wealth, lifestyle, spirituality, and personal responsibility. Let's see. Yes, so this show is about manifesting your own life, taking responsibility for your life, healing your life, and also healing America, because that's what we need. We cannot have a healthy country if we don't have a healthy population. And right now, personal responsibility does not seem to be America's #1 priority. Right now, this is March 29th, 2025, and we are loaded with politics and division in this country. People are completely at each other's throats according to politics. People are obsessed with it. We are not a unified country. So we have to, instead of trying to go out and speak our words, or whatever you want to do, speak with words, we have to use spiritual methods. So the whole idea is that we are creators of our own life. We are responsible for our own life. We are responsible for our own health. We are responsible for what we view. We're responsible for our reactions. And we are responsible for pretty much everything you think of to some degree. And so this is going to be a great awakening for many in America. And this is about getting back to some of the roots. I believe Manifest Destiny is not, I think it was turned into some kind of political statement about manifesting, like, taking over land, or kind of like going out living the way you want. And there's some truth to that. But Manifest Destiny ultimately is that you manifest your own destiny. Like there's nothing preconceived for you, that you're the ones who create your life. Sometimes you don't do it on purpose. Sometimes you create a lot of things you don't want. Sometimes you create a lot of suffering you don't want, but you are still responsible. And that's what this show is about. Because for me, being an American is kind of like a very hyper sense of individualism, but a sense of also that you are creating your own path, and that you're not bound by conventions. Like, we don't have royalty in this country as much as some people would like to see it. And we have a republic, and hopefully it'll still be standing by the time this is becoming a popular show. So again, that's kind of the philosophy behind the All-American show. I don't know whether I'm going to call it like 5 white guys or an All-American show. I don't know if it's going to have 5 white guys or any guy, how many people we're going to have. But I would like to have a few hosts. I'd like to have 3 to 5 hosts that are of the same mindset. I really believe this is what created America and created much of the West. Some people took radical responsibility and influenced other people towards beauty, towards integrity, towards a really thriving civilization. And there's no reason we have to decline individually or as a collective, but we can't collectivize. That doesn't work. We have to work on our own individual self, okay? And that's what our show is about. And so, here we go. I talked a little bit about my philosophical statement about personal responsibility, and obviously this is a very crude, like not, very raw. There's no fluff here right now. There's nothing, it's going to be very different once money gets poured into this, once we get co-hosts, once I become more present and overcome my personal problems, which I have a few right now. Okay, so let's see. Words of affirmation and prayer. Here on the show, we believe thoughts are prayers and prayers are affirmations. So basically what you think about and what you say over and again will manifest, because eventually you'll believe it. But so it's important to be intentional about it. So a lot of people think prayer is just for religious people, but it's not. I call them affirmative prayers or whatever, because you're affirming what you want. We believe in a universal loving God. I'm a Christian. And my belief is that, Jesus showed the way for people. He led by example, and he taught people, including disciples, how to live a prosperous life. He was kind of a great teacher, and he led by example. And there's a metaphor in the Bible about him dying on a cross and resurrecting. And I believe it's every human being's personal story that they will eventually suffer on their own cross, and be resurrected from the dead, because their suffering will be so great, they're willing to say, I'll do whatever I can to never suffer again, and I will resurrect and ascend and become one with God. And that's all of our journeys. And I don't know how many times it takes to have that happen. So let's do some affirmations. Let's start with some affirmations and prayers. Now, I believe gratitude and love are some of the highest energies and the highest ways to connect with God, the best ways, the most direct ways to connect with God. I use religious language, and I don't use I'm not a universalist, meaning I'm a Christian, so I don't necessarily I'm not going to pander to other religions or other belief systems. And yes, I might use words that you may be unfamiliar with if you're a Christian or whatnot, but I cannot apply universal teachings to everyone, because that's just not my thing. Because no matter what happens, if you already have a preconceived belief system or religion, you're generally just going to incorporate certain things into that. So I hope that you understand what my Christianity is about, and hope you will join me in sharing my beliefs. I don't care if you don't have to have my beliefs, but it'd be great if we shared. That's how cultures get formed, because people believe similar things in civilizations, because people subscribe to them. I think it's important to have a cohesive society and not necessarily anarchy, even though it's hard to have anarchy when God's in control of everything. But the question is, are you resisting God, or are you joining God? Are you grateful, or are you indignant? So you cannot pray about what you don't want and complain and feel God's presence. You have to be grateful. You have to be self-loving. You have to make loving choices. You have to be grateful for other people. You have to be grateful for everything. So here we go. Words of affirmation and prayers. I'm so grateful for God. I'm so grateful for my room. I'm so grateful for my money. I'm so grateful for my podcast. I am loved. I feel God's love everywhere. I'm grateful for my body. I'm grateful for my healing. I'm grateful when I talk about gratitude. I take deeper breaths. I know I'm detoxing quicker when I'm grateful. I know my health is improving when I'm grateful. I know my inflammation goes down when I'm grateful. I'm very grateful just for anything. It doesn't matter what you're grateful for. It's the energy, it's the alignment in your mind with God. Okay, that's the truth. You have to align with God. That's what we're trying to do here on the show. And we're not just an intellectual show, we're an experiential show. So we want you to experience God's love. And we want you to be resurrected. And we want you to be empowered, to feel God's presence once again, to reconnect. We want you to, get out of the woods and get back into your full presence and everything. I want every little thing to be act of joy, because it can be. Now, I'm not in that space right now. I'm not going to misguide you. I'm in a very disconnected space, so I am intellectualizing. Does that make sense? So I'm not living it, but I am creating this show, number one, for me. This is a show I need. This is a show I need and many people need. This is a show that will bring people together. This is a show that will make you feel this connection. And even if you get triggered, this show will teach you tools. This show will make you feel less alone. The show will give you hope. The show will inspire you to let go of your resentments, let go of your anger, be courageous, let go of, feel, that deep sadness that you are avoiding all the time, okay? And to let go of shame energy. This is what that show is about. We're going to talk about beautiful things, great things to be so grateful for. We're going to show you things, wonderful aspirational lifestyle things, okay? Because yes, you don't have to be rich to be happy. But for most people, it's very difficult to get rich without being happy. That being happy and people have so many limitations on themselves. Unless you were born into money is a very challenging subject for many, many people, because we have so many limitations and limited beliefs around that. So the idea is we have to become better, more aligned to people with God. And once you raise your energy, more money comes. Better things happen. Your life, gets better. And so I'm here to experience that with you. And I'm not perfect. I'm going to be a hypocrite at times, okay? Because I'm still trying. I'm still trying to I'm really trying to transcend. And I'm still, I have bad habits that I'm trying to overcome. I have food habits that are very negative and detrimental to my health and to my spirituality that I have to stop. And for me, I don't do drugs, but food is a drug for me. So it's just that simple. So I have to use prayer and raise my energy and keep the energy up to transcend my problems. And so I try to do things on my own, but I have to allow God, practice gratitude and affirmations relentlessly, because there is a war. One of my favorite singers, some of my favorite songs, or I want to say my favorite singer, one of my favorite singers is Lana Del Rey, and she sings about the war in her mind. Now, she doesn't necessarily prescribe solutions. She basically just describes dilemmas and things that she deals with. But yeah, there's a war in your mind. That's where the war is. And you can't solve, people protest wars or whatever, but You can't solve any war without solving the war within. So again, gratitude. So we'll do like a few minutes where I'll just say what I'm grateful for, just anything. I'm grateful for my feet. I'm grateful for my bed. Okay, so it's just being grateful, just saying the word gratitude, saying it, thinking about it. Anything you can be grateful for. You don't even just, I'm grateful for this bag. I'm grateful for my laptop. I'm so grateful. I am loved. 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 I'm so grateful. I'm loved. I'm so grateful. I am loved. See, when you start to be grateful, your body starts to expel stuff and you start to deep breathe. You start to digest. So for me, it's kind of hard to keep doing the gratitudes because I can't talk while doing them. So my body's like, you know, people, when you're stressed out, they always say, breathe, breathe, breathe. No, that never helped. I had a lot of stress. I had a lot of problems. And so it's just, the idea is to be grateful and or to say, I love you. I love you. I love this. I love that. I love this. I love that. I am loved. I'm loved. You could externalize it or just say, I'm grateful to be loved. I'm grateful to be loved. I'm grateful to be loved. I'm so grateful to be loved. I'm so grateful to be loved. Who loves you? Our Creator. We are created and now we create. I'm grateful to be loved. I'm grateful to be loved. I'm going to survive. I'm going to survive my addictions. I'm going to heal my addictions. Eventually, I'm going to go to stadiums and take this show on the road and have hundreds of thousands of people at the same time do affirmations with me. And we're going to talk about gratitude and love, and people will transcend at that stadium or wherever I am. And there will be lots of healing, lots of consciousness shifting from, releasing the negative and going up to a higher level. People have no idea how happy they can be. I used to be really, really joyful at one time, but I sabotaged it, and I'm never doing that again. And this is why I started this podcast, because I was so sick of my goddamn self. And I want to at least create something, or at least say I created something. So don't sabotage that, because I'm living in a small condo in Ridgeville, Connecticut, sharing it with my dad. I'm not the epitome of success. Why? Because my choices I made. No one did anything to me. Yeah, there's a lot of things I could blame, but I'm the responsible one. No one else did it to me but me. I made choices. I created thoughts. So I've finally learned to surrender. Now, new part of the show. Let's do a manifestation testimonial, okay? Because yes, we are always manifesting our lives, but it's nice when we specifically ask for something and we know it came to us. It's like kind of like setting a goal, but it's a little bit more divinely inspired. Because when you manifest something, it's not always about the action, it's about the alignment. It's not about the action. Only in the Protestant work ethic America, we're obsessed with action. That somehow. But there is a connection. I'm not going to bash the Protestants, because I grew up Protestant. But the idea that there is evidence that, the closer you are to God. You cannot be poor and be connected to God, okay? If you see a poor person, they are not connected to God. I'm just saying that. And that's controversial, but I don't care. You could be... Just because you're rich doesn't mean you're connected to God. And just because you're, if you're poor... If you're connected to God doesn't mean you have to be rich. But if you're poor and you're definitely not connected to God, like meaning if you have lack in your life, you cannot be connected to God. Because if you truly felt God's presence, you wouldn't be sitting in some kind of shitty apartment with mold everywhere. That's an energy, and there's levels of energy. There's a hierarchy of energy, and we're all trying to rise into higher levels. That's what Earth is for, you know. And that was what Jesus came to teach us. And that's what my favorite Christian hymns teach. So I'm going to go. One of my favorite places to go for manifestation testimonials is thesecret.tv. Now, it is a secular website. It's Secret by Rhonda Byrne. And basically it talks about gratitude and the power of your thoughts and thinking. Oprah discussed this back in like 2006 or 2007, and The Secret became really popular. And that's because Rhonda Byrne, the author, manifested it. It didn't have to happen, didn't have to occur, but the world is an effect. Okay, the world is an effect. And we are the cause. We are the cause of what's happening, but our minds specifically. So you want to make the world a better place, you have to become better. And going around and trying to change the world first is not the best, is an illusion, and you're not going to get much done. You might think you do, you might go spend your whole life being an activist, but that's really not what you're not creating the results you want. Because there's always someone that's going to stop you, try to stop you, and they mostly will be successful. I mean, okay, I will go through a testimonial. I don't know. So, I'm trying to just think of a really basic one. I'm trying to find a really basic one for you. I don't know. So anyway, but these are the Secret testimonials, and I love reading them because they remind me that I'm not some victim, and I can control what I do with my body, I can control my life, I can control my thoughts. So if you want to go to thesecret.tv, okay? Thesecret.tv. And there's a bunch of secret stories on here. Yeah, I can't really find a really good story right now. I guess here's one. No, it's not a good one either. Shit. Sorry. You know what? There's a lot of people from India using The Secret. And a lot of them say they want to come to America, come to the West. There's probably why we have so many immigrants coming from India. But I'd imagine that the ones at least coming to America are fairly well off. And they're pretty hardworking people. But that's a whole other issue we'll discuss maybe later in a different episode or different podcast. Okay, here's a testimonial from someone from New York. New York, a person named Jennifer. I'm going to read it. I just want to say thank you to God for your messengers. I'm always on this site like it's my religion because I have none. Well, technically, if you're practicing the tools in this site, you're a Christian because this is the stuff Christ taught. But I must say that reading everybody's stories shows that we create what we believe. It's really no specific way, but your way of believing and seeing. I seem to create my biggest desires under pressure. And sometimes the longer and harder my focus, the faster it comes. And my emotions always let me know what I have manifested. Where something good is arriving, I get joy that comes out of nowhere. And I begin to praise God and sing and dance. And then the next thing you know, I get some good news or some money. So what I learned is to really get to know myself and see the signs or the people around me. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Now, first off, this woman says she has no religion. Obviously she does. She's a Christian. Because she talks about God and being grateful. And that's what Christians do. That's what we teach. We don't always practice it, and we actually don't. A lot of churches totally ignore it, but gratitude is a fundamental part of being a Christian. And at the end, she talks. Now she says when she's under, she puts pressure. Now, I don't believe in pressure. The whole idea is we put plenty of pressure on ourselves, and that's actually blocking things. Letting things go and being grateful as if they've already happened is how you manifest. But a lot of times people will manifest who they are. For example, like you'll manifest people that you feel really strongly about, but they have the same dark side you have. So like you'll fall in love with someone that's dark because you're dark. And so you fall in love with someone with the same wounds as you do. And usually that doesn't last. That type of relationship won't last because you're both wounded and you think that you're in love with this person, and you are, but that's only because you recognize yourself in them, okay? So you really have to recognize that relationships are ways to grow. And there's a lot of people in good relationships, and there's a lot of people who are not in good relationships. But the difference is you can change your relationship without changing the person by changing yourself. So if you're in a fucked up relationship, you're like, this person's so damn hot, or like we have like a really good sex, or we have, a really good emotional connection or something. But like there's all these other problems. Well, you're never just, if you just say thank you, if you just move on and say next, well then you're just going to attract someone with similar issues in a different body, okay? So here we go. Anyway, this person, Seeker.tv/stories, and then it was just a testimonial. Excuse me. Okay, let's talk about investing and manifesting money. Now, this is an aspirational podcast, or an aspirational show. So, when you're in a bad mood and you're playing the stock market or you're investing, you're going to pick bad stocks, and you're not only going to buy at the wrong time. If you're in a bad mood, you're going to sell at the wrong time. And if you have no intentions, no faith, and you're like, God, I don't know, I want to make money, and you're just like kind of like not using your emotions correctly, not using your feelings correctly, and having no faith that you're going to manifest money, or your mood swings are all over the place, you're really just not going to make a lot of money. I mean, it just depends on your money set point from when you're a kid, what you already believe about money, whether you start out with money, but the people who go into debt really have a limited belief. They also worry too much. It's psychological. I mean, the truth is, people with money are generally happier than people without money, okay? It's not something should be controversial. All the studies show that people with more money are generally happier. If you go to the nicer areas of the nicer suburbs or the elite parts of town, those areas have happier, more grateful people. Yes, there's people who are privileged and there's people who are entitled there too. But the fact is, you'll find a lot more people who are grateful and happy and take responsibility for their life than you will if you go to the ghetto areas or the projects. You find a lot of blame, a lot of entitlement there, lots of entitlement, psychological entitlement, feeling like they're owed something, a lot of resentment towards the rich, a lot of anger, a lot of resentment towards a lot of people. And it's just really hard to go from that set point to having a lot of money and keeping it, because you're having, it's just, you just look at the environment of like the shitty part of the city, and I'll use New York City because I know it fairly well. You go to like the South Bronx and you see how like chaotic it is, and how there's no healthy food there, and how like everything's dirty. Well, go interview people. Go ask them what they believe. Are they grateful every day? No, they're not. They might say a bunch of bullshit that they are, but they're absolutely blowing smoke up your ass if they say that. The fact is, they have a limited mindset, a poverty mindset. Now, people, obviously, with money, people can inherit money and, be stable if their parents had money, or their parent, that was passed down to them. But sometimes that's not the best thing for your own personal development. I should know, because I grew up middle class and had a lot of things paid for, and I didn't have to do a lot myself. Well, I did, but I didn't. But I also had a lot of fear around money and a lot of health challenges. And whenever I'm able to make money, when I can manifest money, I can do it through, I have to get myself in the right mindset, and I have to be in a decent mood. But if I'm like eating too much, if I'm eating a bunch of shit food, and I'm not taking care of my body, it's really difficult for me to manifest the money I need, and maintain it, and to hold on to it. So there's that. So again, let's talk positively. What do we want? You really want to have money in the markets, money in Bitcoin, because you have to. This is a great way to see your wealth grow. Okay, I'm not going to go on and on about. I'm just talking about the fundamental psychology behind it, and then I'm going to move on. Okay. With manifesting money, people say, "I'll invest a certain amount and then wait." Well, you wait. Yes, if you wait and you just kind of expect, like, you could wait like 5 or 7 years and be like, "Oh, this stock or this index fund, this S&P will go up, 5% a year, 7% a year, whatever." But like, that might be true over time, but like, you might be like, because of your bad mood, you might invest in a particular fund that's like really high, and then it goes low for the next 5 or 10 years, or you might, it's not just luck or timing. Yeah, it's timing, but it's the idea that you have to align your mind. So if you don't align your mind with what you want, and it kind of start to expect, oh, I could make this, will probably happen. I bet I can go from like, $10,000 to $100,000, maybe, and double it every couple of years or something. Like maybe in like another 20 years, I bet I can take 10,000 and turn it into 50,000, or 50,000 into like 100,000, whatever it is. And those are pretty low manifestations to some degree. It's not going to be life changing. So you really, again, have to set your goals, and you can change them, but you have to make sure your moods are in the right place. So right now, a person who's very successful, and I don't know a lot about like every stock, but right now I know that Tesla is being shit on horrifically in the media by people who are very left-wing, and people who hate Elon Musk right now. This is the time we're at, at the end of March in 2025, and so the stock's taking a beating. The PR is horrific, but the company is still growing. Like, he is very good at like making money. He is very good at having successful companies, and whether he gets the money from the government or whether he sells the companies, it really doesn't necessarily even matter, because the whole idea is that he's good at manifesting.